certainly no 3 points for Roy Hodgson. And their current winless run, 8 matches now, and the Achilles heel for them has always been conceding those late goals. That's been killing their season, Gary. How much at risk right now is Roy Hodgson?
Well, you just mentioned that stat. You know, it's 1 win in 12 is another stat at the moment. They're 3 points above the drop zone. And, you know, it's not looking particularly good. When you're in that type of run, how do you turn it round? There's been a couple of situations. They did great at Manchester City recently, didn't they? Coming back from 2 behind to get a point there. Yeah, I would think that Roy Hodgson is really concerned at the moment. And you know, I don't like talking about, you know, managers possibly being moved on, but you know, I'm sure at board level at Crystal Palace, they are now starting to get a little bit uncomfortable with the fact that, you know, Palace have slid far too close to the drop zone after what was a good start to the season. Yeah,
definitely. And there are plans at Palace as well. I think this would have been, for Steve Parish, the chairman, this would have been a stabilising season. That's what he would have seen with Roy Hodgson coming in, because Scott mentioned to me they're redeveloping one of the main stands, so there's a bit of focus on that going on at Palace. So they just wanted a nice sort of, you know, free of any drama.
Consolidation season, wasn't it?
And they've not got it. And the problem for them is now the teams below them are starting to pick up as well.
And Luton Town's got games in hand as well.
Exactly, yeah. And Chris Wilder's coming at Sheffield United. They've won a game. There's a few things going on at, you know, Forest as well. Now they're picking out a good win the other day. They will be worried at Palace, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's... You think about what he's done, Roy, OK, and he's done a great job at Crystal Palace. But was it a mistake in hindsight to extend that contract, you think?
Well, I think, you know, as Dave just alluded to there, the reason why, and he was only offered a one-year contract. You don't offer managers one-year contracts. Why is that? Well, Roy did a great job last season, and because they're developing the main stand and they're wanting to put money there, he wasn't given a lot of money in the summer. So it's not as if this sort of top 10 shout at the start of the season I felt was always unrealistic. But look, what he's done, he got a point recently at West Ham. I thought they're very unlucky. I was at Selhurst Park against Liverpool. He's drawn against Manchester City. He's drawn against Brighton. Unlucky tonight. I think it'd be very harsh if he were to get sacked quite soon. But I also do think that it's worrying times. You look at last season when Patrick Vieira got sacked. You know, they're closer to the relegation zone now. So there's no doubt about it. The reason he was brought in this particular season, keep us up, don't let us have any worries. They have got worries now.
It's not just the results, it's the fact that fans aren't happy. They are completely removed, or at least almost completely removed from the club now because the way Roy sets them up to play. And added to the fact that now Steve Cooper is out of the job, how much does that change the picture? And will Roy Hodgson last the season, you think?
I think it changes it a lot. You know, I know there are people who are keen at Crystal Palace of Steve Cooper, but there are also people who aren't. You know, the plus points for Roy Hodgson is he knows the club well. If it looks like Crystal Palace are going down, who would you bring in? You'd bring in a Roy Hodgson. But you're right, the fans aren't happy with this sort of style of play. Results aren't going for them, and you've got a Premier League manager almost not necessarily waiting, but the call could be happening, I'm sure. Conversations are being had, so I do worry for Roy. I hope he gets to the end of the season. I'm not so sure he will.
Will he last, Gary?
I think it's touch and go, and I'm just having a glance down at their next games. You know, they're at home against Brentford, then they're away against Arsenal, home against Sheffield United. And I look at all of those, and there's not points jumping out at me, but there's some key games. You know, Sheffield United, they have to beat Sheffield United, really. Brentford are having a difficult time at the moment, but they're not an easy side to play against. And of course, Arsenal will be a huge challenge for Crystal Palace as well. And in amongst that, they've got Everton in the FA Cup. So, you know, when things aren't going your way in football, every opponent you tend to look at looks a tough opponent.
Yeah, it's a decision that Steve Parish would not have wanted to have on his plate. But if he is going to do something, it's January coming up.
And he'll do it.
He will do it, absolutely, yeah.